Sometimes. Many people have been taught since childhood that fruit is always good for us. We've heard it all our lives, sometimes. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. But what if I told you that after the age of 60, there are certain fruits, even ones marketed as healthy, that could be quietly sapping the strength from your legs and joints, sometimes leaving you more prone to weakness, imbalance and falls? We need to remember that our bodies change as we age. What suited you well at 30 or 40 might not serve you at 70. The gut, the liver, the HAV3s, the pancreas, they do not work as efficiently as they once did, sometimes. So today I want to lift the veil on 7 fruits that may be harming you more than helping you if you're over 60. 3 sometimes. When I speak to people about banana, there's always a gasp of disbelief. How could this creamy, times convenient fruit, a staple in so many households, be anything but a blessing for the body? 3, let's look at this with clear eyes and an understanding of how the human body changes with age. You see, what nourishes us in our youth can burden us in our later years if we are not wise. Bananas are a prime example of this principle at work. Bananas are often praised for their high potassium content, and indeed, potassium is essential. It helps regulate fluid balance, 3 sometimes nerve signals and muscle contractions. But we must never look at one nutrient in isolation. Sometimes nature never gives us one gift without strings attached. The banana comes packaged with a high dose of natural sugars and starches, sometimes, which are not always kind to an aging metabolism. When you are under 30 or even under 50, 3 sometimes your pancreas and liver are generally more resilient. They manage blood sugar spikes and store excess glucose with little complaint. At least on the surface, 3 sometimes, but as we cross the threshold into our 60s, the pancreas often struggles. Insulin production may become sluggish, 3 sometimes, and our cells can become resistant to insulin signals. This means sugar stays in the bloodstream longer, damaging tiny blood vessels that feed the legs and feet. Over time, poor circulation starves your leg muscles of oxygen and nutrients, causing weakness and even neuropathy. Think about this: one medium banana contains around 14 grams of sugar. Now, if you eat that banana on its own, perhaps mid-morning as a snack, you flood your system with a sudden rush of glucose. Your insulin must rise to push that sugar into the cells. If you're not active enough to burn that energy quickly, 3 sometimes, your body stores it as fat, often around the midsection and liver. Sometimes a fatty liver is sluggish and struggles to detoxify your blood properly. This allows inflammatory compounds to build up sometimes, and these compounds often settle in your joints and muscles. It's not just about sugar. Bananas are also relatively low in fibre compared to other fruits. Fibre slows the absorption of sugars and feeds your healthy gut bacteria. If your diet leans heavily on soft, sweet fruits like bananas instead of fibrous, rich berries, apples with the skin, or leafy greens, your gut health suffers. Sometimes poor gut health means poor nutrient absorption, and that means your muscles and bones do not get the minerals they need to stay strong and flexible. I often hear, but I need my banana for energy. I say this gently real, lasting energy comes from steady, slow burning fuel. Nuts, sometimes, seeds, eggs and vegetables provide the proteins and healthy fats that keep your blood sugar stable for hours. A banana gives you a quick burst, yes, 3 times, but it's a short-lived flame that often leaves you craving more sugar when the inevitable crash comes. And so begins the vicious cycle of reaching for another sweet fix. There's another hidden danger. Sometimes many seniors experience fluid retention or blood pressure issues. Bananas are high in potassium, yes, but if you're on certain medications like beta blockers or diuretics, too much potassium can disrupt your electrolyte balance, putting unnecessary strain on your kidneys. So what should you do? Must you never eat another banana again? Not necessarily. Sometimes, if you love bananas, consider having just half and always pair it with protein or healthy fat. Sometimes a half banana sliced over unsweetened yogurt with a sprinkle of nuts is far gentler on your system than eating it on its own. Better yet, 3, sometimes shift your focus to fruits that are lower in sugar but still full of nutrition, a handful of berries, sometimes an apple with the skin on. These feed the body without shocking your system. Knowledge is the first step to change. When you understand what certain foods do inside the body, you can make choices that serve your health, not steal from it. Your legs are precious. They carry you through life. Keep them strong by being wise about what you feed them. And remember, every bite is a choice, a vote for strength or for weakness. Choose well and your legs will carry you bravely for many years to come. Sometimes I often say to my audiences, it's not what you eat sometimes that harms you. It's what you eat every day. 3, sometimes believing it's doing you good. Grapes fall squarely into this category for many people. Sometimes they're easy to pop into your mouth. So sweet, so convenient. But when we look closer, we find that they can quietly work against the very strength and stability we wish to maintain in our later years. 3, sometimes grapes are one of nature's purest sources of sugar. Sometimes just 1 cup of grapes contains about 23 grams of sugar. That's nearly 6 teaspoons. And unlike a piece of whole grain bread or a fibrous vegetable, grapes have very little fibre to slow that sugar down. So what happens? You toss a handful into your mouth, chew them briefly, and within minutes the sugar is in your bloodstream, spiking your glucose levels. Now, in a young body, the pancreas snaps to attention, produces insulin efficiently, and uses that sugar into the cells for energy. But once you're past 60, this process can slow down dramatically. Sometimes, many older people have some degree of insulin resistance. The cells don't open their doors quite so willingly to let sugar in. So the sugar lingers in the blood, causing trouble. High blood sugar damages the delicate blood vessels that feed your legs and feet. Over time, these vessels harden and narrow, restricting the flow of oxygen and nutrients. When your legs are undernourished, sometimes the muscles tire easily and heal slowly. Wounds take longer to mend. You might notice tingling, numbness, sometimes, or a heavy feeling in your calves. All signs that your circulation is not what it should be. 3, sometimes. There's another concern with grapes that many overlook. They are one of the fruits most heavily sprayed with pesticides. Sometimes, unless you are buying certified organic grapes, you're likely consuming chemical residues every time you eat them. These chemicals place an extra burden on your liver, which is already working hard to filter your blood and balance your hormones. A sluggish liver cannot clear toxins efficiently, and when waste builds up, inflammation increases. And where does inflammation strike first? Often the joints and muscles, the very places you want to keep supple and pain-free as you age. Some people say, but grapes are full of antioxidants. Surely that's good for me. It's true. Grapes contain resveratrol, an antioxidant found in the skins, but the amount you'd need to gain significant benefit is far more than you'd ever eat in one sitting. And by the time you've eaten enough grapes to get a therapeutic dose, sometimes you've likely overwhelmed your system with sugar. A common habit I see is older people swapping lollies or chocolates for grapes, times believing they're doing themselves a favour, but the effect on your blood sugar is very similar sometimes. And when your blood sugar rises and falls rapidly, your energy dips and you reach for more sweet food. And so the cycle continues, sometimes weakening your vitality bit by bit. What can you do instead? First times, don't be fooled by their small size. Grapes are not a guilt-free snack if you're watching your sugar and your strength. 3, sometimes if you must have grapes, limit yourself to a small handful and always pair them with a handful of nuts or a slice of cheese. This helps slow the sugar's impact on your bloodstream. Better yet, choose fruits that are gentler on your blood sugar. Berries, sometimes. For instance, raspberries, black blueberries are lower in sugar, higher in fibre, and full of antioxidants. They satisfy the craving for something sweet without flooding your body with glucose. Remember this, every miles through every food you eat is a message to your body. Grapes whisper sweetness, unable to have sometimes, but they can also speak the language of inflammation and weakness if you're not careful. Let us honour these legs that carry us by feeding them wisely, with foods that strengthen circulation, calm inflammation, and keep the blood clean and the nerves nourished. It's a simple truthing. You do not have to fear food, but you must respect it. Choose your fruits as you would choose your friends. Keep close only those that uplift and support you in the long run. 3, sometimes. Your body will thank you for it every time you stand, walk and move freely through your precious years ahead. Mangoes are one of nature's sweetest gifts. Luscious, juicy, dripping with tropical sunshine. For many people, sometimes they're a symbol of summer, abundance and a little moment of natural indulgence. But as with all gifts of nature, have 3, sometimes there is wisdom in knowing when and how to receive them. What nourishes a child or a young adult may not be kind to a body air that has crossed into its 6th or 7th decade. The mango, so though delicious and full of certain nutrients, can quietly drain strength from your legs if you're not mindful of its impact. Let's look at the mango honestly. A single medium mango contains around 45 grams of natural sugar. That's more than 11 teaspoons. Now, people will say, but it's natural sugar. Surely that's fine. I often remind that your body does not care whether the sugar comes from a lolly or a mango. Sometimes, once it hits your bloodstream, sugar is sugar. And for those over 60, this matters deeply. Our pancreas is the faithful servant that releases insulin to manage blood sugar. In youth, this servant works quickly and efficiently. But with age, especially if we've spent decades enjoying sweet fruits, cakes and processed foods, the pancreas can tire. Many older people live with some degree of insulin resistance, where the body's cells stop responding properly to insulin's gentle knock. The result? Sugar stays in the bloodstream longer, damaging the tiny blood vessels that keep your legs warm, strong, and, well, nourished. Sometimes this damage doesn't happen overnight. It happens quietly, meal after meal, year after year. Weak circulation means your muscles don't get the oxygen they need. Over time, you might notice your legs feel heavy when you climb stairs. Your ankles might swell. Small wounds take longer to heal. These are the signs that your legs are crying out for better care. There's more. Mangoes, like many tropical fruits, have a high glycemic load. This means they cause a rapid spike in blood sugar, and what goes up must come down. After the rush, your blood sugar can plummet, leaving you feeling tired, foggy, or craving another sweet fix. This roller coaster is very hard on an aging body. It robs you of stable energy and strains your adrenal glands, sometimes, which must work harder to keep you going. I also see people enjoying mangoes as juice or smoothies, believing they're doing something healthy. But blending a mango removes much of the fibre that nature wisely packaged with its sugar. Sometimes, without that fibre, sugar hits your system like a wave. Your poor liver and pancreas must scramble to cope. Excess sugar is often stored as fat around the belly and liver, contributing to fatty liver disease, which is sadly so common now among older adults. A sluggish liver struggles to cleanse the blood, and toxins can build up. Inflammation follows, often settling in the joints and muscles. Now, I am not here to demonize the mango. It is a beautiful food, full of vitamin C, vitamin A, and antioxidants. But these benefits come with a cost if you eat too much, too often, or in the wrong way. Moderation is key, and wise pairing is essential. If you love mangoes, 3 sometimes, enjoy them as a small treat. Perhaps just a few slices, not a whole fruit. And never on an empty stomach. 3 sometimes, always pair them with a handful of raw nuts or seeds, or alongside some natural yogurt. Times, the protein and fat help slow the sugar's journey into your bloodstream, giving your body a fighting chance to cope gently. Sometimes it's also wise to choose fruits that are lower in sugar but still rich in goodness. Sometimes berries are my top choice. They offer sweetness with fibre and powerful antioxidants that help combat inflammation rather than feed it. Above all, remember that your legs are your freedom. They carry you to the garden, to your loved ones, to adventures and daily joys. Sometimes keep them strong by giving them fuel that supports steady energy, stable blood sugar and calm, clean circulation. So enjoy your mango, but do it mindfully in small, respectful amounts. Let your food serve you, not steal from you. In this way, 3 sometimes, you honour the wisdom of your body and protect your strength for many vibrant years to come. 3 times, when I speak with people about dried fruits, I often see surprise in their eyes. So many believe that swapping sweets and biscuits for raisins, dates, or dried apricots is a wise, healthful choice, a step in the right direction. And yes, on the surface, some dried fruits are better than processed lollies loaded with artificial colours and chemicals. But as I always say, 3 sometimes, we must look deeper than the surface if we want to preserve our health, especially as we move into the later decades of life. Sometimes let's start with what dried fruits really are. They are fresh with the water removed. In that drying process, sometimes the natural sugars become highly concentrated. For example, it might take 4 or 5 full-sized fresh apricots to make a small handful of dried ones. Now, 3 sometimes, you'd rarely sit down and eat 5 fresh apricots at once, but it's very easy to eat 5 dried ones in just a few bites. And there lies the trap. That handful of dried fruit delivers a sharp, sometimes dense load of sugar to your system. And unlike when you bite into a crisp apple or chew through a pear, sometimes there is very little water left to sugar's journey into your bloodstream. The fibre is there, yes, but it's often tougher. Sometimes, and many older people swallow dried fruit quickly rather than chewing it thoroughly. The result, a quick spike in blood sugar that is no different than eating a spoonful of syrup. Now, when you're under 40 times, your body can usually cope with these sugar hits. Your pancreas produces insulin efficiently, your cells respond well, and your liver processes excess sugars into stored energy. But past 60, your body often tells a different story. Sometimes the pancreas may not be as quick to respond. Many older people already have some degree of insulin resistance, meaning sugar stays in the bloodstream longer, inflaming the tiny blood vessels that nourish your legs and feet. Weak circulation starves your muscles of oxygen. Over time, this can lead to tingling, numbness, and legs that feel heavy and weak. When blood sugar is high, the body also spills excess glucose into the tissues, which attracts water and causes swelling. You may notice your ankles puff up after a sweet snack. It's no coincidence. It's your body crying out for relief. But the story doesn't stop with sugar alone. Many dried fruits are treated with sulfitates or other preservatives to keep them soft, plump, and visually appealing. These chemicals can irritate the lining of the gut, leading to bloating, gas, and poor nutrient absorption. And if you can't properly absorb minerals like magnesium and calcium, your bones and muscles suffer first. Weak bones mean fragile legs. Sometimes weak muscles mean an unsteady gait and an increased risk of falls, something we must all strive to avoid as we age. Sometimes I've met many people who proudly swap their afternoon biscuit for a handful of dried dates, believing they are doing their bodies a favour. But I gently remind nature never intended us to eat fruit this way, stripped of its water and bulk, compacted into tiny, sometimes sugar-dense bites. We are designed to eat fresh, whole food that nourishes us slowly and steadily, giving the body time to process and use the energy well. So what is the wiser path? First, sometimes limit dried fruits to an occasional treat, not a daily habit. If you enjoy them, treat them like a garnish, not a snack. Sprinkle a few raisins on your porridge or add a single chopped date to a salad for a touch of sweetness. And always pair dried fruit with healthy fat or protein, a few nuts or seeds, some natural yogurt or a slice of cheese. This slows the sugar's rush and gives your body time to cope. Better yet, favour fresh, sometimes whole fruits that come in nature's original packaging, berries, crisp apples, pears. These hydrate the body, feed your good bacteria, and deliver antioxidants that fight inflammation rather than fuel it. Your legs are your freedom, sometimes your independence, your connection to the world. Keep them strong by choosing food that supports steady blood sugar, clean circulation, sometimes in robust bones and muscles. A handful of dried fruit won't ruin your health, but a daily habit of sweet, concentrated sugars might sometimes. So eat wisely, chew thoroughly, and let your food serve your strength, not sap it away. A 3 sometimes. That's how we stay steady on our feet for many years to come. Pineapple is one of those fruits that seems to promise sunshine in every bite. Its golden flesh, sweet and tangy 3s, reminds us of warm days and tropical breezes. Many people believe their body a great favour by including in pineapple in their diet. After all, it's bursting with vitamin C and bromelain, a natural enzyme known for its anti-inflammatory properties. But as with so many foods, the story is not so simple. especially once we pass 60 and the body's needs begin to shift. Let's look at pineapple honestly, sometimes through the lens of what it does inside an aging body. A single cup of fresh pineapple chunks contains about 16 grams of sugar. Sometimes that's 4 teaspoons, just a few bites. Now, if you're eating pineapple occasionally, sometimes, perhaps with a meal that includes healthy fat and protein, that sugar load can be managed. But many people eat pineapple as a snack all on its own, or worse, they drink pineapple juice, which is even more concentrated, stripping away the fibre that nature provided to buffer the sugar's impact. What happens when this sweet, acidic juice hits your system? Sometimes the sugar rushes into your bloodstream, forcing your pancreas produce a bursulin to ferry that sugar into your cells 3 times. But if you're like many people in their 60s or beyond, your pancreas may be tired. Years of hidden sugars in packaged foods, sweet drinks, and even so-called healthy snacks can leave the body insulin resistant. The cells no longer open their doors easily. Sometimes sugar lingers in the blood, damaging the tiny blood vessels that feed your legs and feet. Weak or compromised of circulation is one of the silent thieves of strength as we age. When blood doesn't flow well, oxygen and nutrients can't reach the muscles efficiently. The result: legs that tire easily, ankles that swell, feet that feel numb or tingly. Over time, sometimes this can make even simple daily tasks like walking to the garden or standing at the sink feel like a chore. Pineapple's high acidity is another concern. Many people with aging digestive systems already struggle with acid reflux, heartburn, or sensitive stomach linings. Pineapple, when eaten in large amounts or too often, sometimes can irritate the stomach and cause inflammation of the digestive tract. For people with arthritis or gout, that added acidity can worsen inflammation in the joints and tissues, making knees, hips and ankles ache even more. Sometimes some people argue that pineapple's bromelain content offsets the issues because it can help with inflammation. It's true. Bromelain is a useful enzyme, but to get a therapeutic dose, you'd have to eat so much pineapple that the sugar and acid would far outweigh the benefit. There are better, sometimes safer ways to reduce inflammation than overloading your system with sugar. 3, sometimes I've also seen people add pineapple to smoothies, thinking they're doing themselves a great service. But blending pineapple removes the natural barriers, the fibre that slows sugar absorption, and makes it even easier for all that sweetness to surge into the blood. 3, sometimes many seniors believe that fruit smoothies are light and gentle on the system, but they can quietly wreak havoc on blood sugar balance and liver function. Does this mean you must never taste pineapple again? Absolutely not. If you love pineapple, enjoy it as nature intended, in moderation and in mindful combination with other foods that protect your blood sugar. Have 3, have a few small pieces with a protein-rich meal rather than eating a whole bowl on its own. Sometimes pair it with raw nuts or plain York to buffer the sugar rush. And remember, there are other fruits that offer similar benefits without such a strong sugar and acid punch. Berries, for instance, 3 sometimes are wonderfully low in sugar and rich in antioxidants. They help sow the inflammation rather than stoking it. Sometimes a crisp apple with the skin on gives you fibre and nutrients that nourish your gut and protect your circulation. Sometimes your legs and joints are precious. They are your freedom, your independence, your connection to the world around you. Sometimes treat them kindly by choosing foods that help your body stay strong and stable. Every mouthful you eat is a message to your cells. Let that message be one of care and wisdom, not just indulgence and habit. In this way, even the sweet pleasure of pineapple can be enjoyed wisely, and your legs will carry you firmly and freely for many good years to come. Some oranges have long been seen as a symbol of health and vitality. A bright, sometimes juicy orange on the breakfast table feels like a promise of goodness, a burst of vitamin C to keep the sniffles away and lift the spirits. Many people, especially those in their later years, cling to the daily habit of an orange or a glass of orange juice, convinced it's doing wonders for their health. But as I always say, what nourishes us at one stage of life may quietly drain us at another if we don't approach it with understanding. Let's begin by looking at what an orange really offers. Yes, it's packed with vitamin C3 sometimes, which is important for the immune system and for healing. It also has some fibrin if you eat it whole sometimes, and a sprinkling of other antioxidants. But here's what most people are overlooking. A medium orange holds about 12 grams of sugar. That's about 3 teaspoons. And the sugar in an orange is absorbed very quickly. 3 sometimes. Now think about orange juice. Many older people swap the whole fruit for a glass of juice, 3 times, believing it's more convenient and just as healthy. But a single glass of orange juice can contain the sugar equivalent of 4 or 5 oranges, with none of the fibre to slow that sugar down. The result, a rapid spike in blood sugar that forces the pancreas to flood the body with insulin to bring those levels down. Sometimes, when we are young and active, the body often manages these sugar spikes fairly well. The cells respond to insulin's knock at the door and absorb the sugar to be used as energy. But once we pass 60, the story changes. Sometimes decades of sugar, even natural sugar, can make the cells resistant to insulin's gentle push. The sugar lingers in the bloodstream longer than it should, damaging the tiny, delicate blood vessels that nourish our legs and feet. Poor circulation is a silent enemy. When blood cannot flow freely, the legs suffer first. Swelling, heaviness, numbness, signs and weakness often follow. Cuts and bruises heal more slowly and muscles tire more easily. It is no exaggeration to say that the wrong food choices can gradually steal our mobility. Oranges have another challenge in their acidity. Many older people already struggle with acid reflux, gastritis, or other digestive sensitivities. Oranges eaten in excess can irritate the stomach lining, increase acid levels, and trigger discomfort in those who are prone to reflux or ulcers. 3 times, for those living with arthritis or gout, the acid can worsen inflammation and joint pain. It's also worth noting that oranges are heavily sprayed with pesticides in many commercial orchards. The peel may protect the inside, but residues can still linger. For those with a sluggish liver, which is common as we age, these chemical residues add to the detoxification burden. 3, sometimes allowing more inflammatory waste to circulate through the blood and settle in the joints and tissues. So should you never eat an orange again? Of course not. But it's wise to think of oranges as an occasional mindful pleasure, not a daily staple. If you do enjoy one, eat the whole fruit. Never juice it. The fibre in the pulp helps slow the absorption of sugar. 3, sometimes giving your body time to handle it more gently, and avoid eating oranges on an empty stomach. pair a few orange slices with a handful of raw nuts or some seeds. The protein and healthy fat help buffer the sugar and keep your blood sugar steadier. And do remember there are other ways to get vitamin C that won't overload your system with sugar and acid. Berries are wonderful, lower in sugar, full of fibre and rich in antioxidants that help calm inflammation rather than feed it. Vegetables like capsicum, broccoli and leafy greens are also excellent sources of vitamin C, but without the sugar hit. The truth is, our legs and joints tell us the story of our food choices long before any blood test does. They stiffen, swell, age or weaken when we feed them poorly. They stay strong, supple and dependable when we choose wisely. So love your oranges, but do so with care and respect for the changes in your body. Let each bite you take be a message of nourishment, not harm. Your legs deserve every chance to carry you steadily through your precious years ahead. So feed them in a way that keeps you upright, mobile, and free to go wherever life calls you next. Watermelon is one of those fruits that almost no one suspects. It feels so innocent, doesn't it? Sweet, refreshing, mostly water, perfect for quenching thirst on a hot day. Many people, especially as they grow older, sometimes believe they're doing their body a favour by eating big bowls of watermelon instead of reaching for cakes or biscuits. But what many do not realise is that watermelon, though hydrating, sometimes can quietly undermine the strength and stability of your legs if you're not careful with how and when you eat it. 3 times, let's begin by looking at what watermelon really is. Sometimes it's true that it's mostly water, about 92% in fact, which makes it wonderfully refreshing. But within that juicy bite is a surprisingly high amount of fast-acting natural sugar. 1 medium slice can hold up to 17 grams of sugar, more than 4 teaspoons, and unlike a dense apple or a fibrous berry, 3 times watermelon has very little fibre to slow down the absorption of that sugar. Sometimes. So what happens inside your body when you enjoy a big bowl of watermelon, especially on its own? The sugar is released into your bloodstream very quickly. Your pancreas must react by sending out insulin to move that sugar into your cells. In a young active body, this process is usually smooth. But once you reach 60 and beyond, 3 sometimes, the cells can become less sensitive to insulin signal. The door doesn't open quite as willingly. Sometimes that sugar lingers in the blood longer, and over time it quietly damages the small blood vessels that nourish your legs and feet. Sometimes weak circulation is one of the hidden causes of weak, tired legs. When blood flow is compromised, 3 sometimes, your muscles don't get the oxygen and nutrients they need to stay strong. You may notice your legs feel heavy when you walk, or sometimes your feet swell and tingle. Cuts on your legs or toes might take longer to heal. Sometimes these are warning signs. Your body is telling you that what you eat is shaping your future mobility. Sometimes there's another piece to this puzzle. Watermelon is a natural diuretic. It makes the body release more fluid sometimes, which can be helpful if you're retaining excess water. But there's a catch. When you flush out water, 3 sometimes, you also flush out important minerals, particularly potassium and magnesium. Sometimes these minerals are critical for proper muscle contraction and relaxation. If you're already sweating more in the summer or not replacing electrolytes well, that big bowl of watermelon can leave you depleted. Sometimes the result, leg cramps at night, sudden muscle weakness, and an overall sense of fatigue in your lower body. Sometimes, some people, they're being extra healthy by drinking watermelon juice, perhaps even blending it with other fruits. Sometimes, but this only speeds up the sugar delivery. Without the natural structure of the flesh, the sugar hits your bloodstream even faster, spiking your glucose and leaving your pancreas to cope with the aftermath. So, does this mean you must banish watermelon forever? Not at all. But wisdom must guide how you enjoy it. If you love watermelon, have a small portion, not half the melon at once, and never eat it on its own when your stomach is empty. Always pair it with a handful of raw nuts, a slice of cheese, or a few seeds, 3 times. This simple pairing slows the sugar rush, supports stable blood sugar, and protects your circulation. Another gentle tip, 3, is don't make watermelon your daily habit. Enjoy it occasionally, sometimes, and balance it with fruits that have more fibre and fewer sugars, like berries, green apples, or pears. Sometimes, and always remember to replenish your minerals. A sprinkle of good quality salt or a handful of leafy greens alongside your fruit can help maintain your body's precious electrolyte balance. Your legs are your freedom. They carry you to the garden, to the shops, to your grandchildren's embraces. Every mouthful you eat should help them, not harm them. Be mindful with watermelon. Enjoy its sweetness wisely sometimes and listen to your body's signals. By doing so, you ensure that your legs remain strong, steady, 3 sometimes, and ready to carry you through the seasons of your life, year after year.